Good evening, everybody. I think for those of you in the know, this is a very emotive moment for me because it so happens that Professor Valero has been helping me with my own PhD thesis. She's been the director of my thesis. So it's a very emotional moment as a result. But I'd like to, by way of introduction, I'd like to just have two considerations. One is that they say that the difference between the knowledgeable person and the wise person is that the knowledgeable person has lots and lots of facts in his mind or her mind, but the wise person knows what he or she knows for. And I think this is quite important because Professor Valero has got a very strong personality, and her architecture shows that personality. It's architecture with personality, and yet she's using all the latest techniques without showing it, because what it shows is her architecture. And what happens a great deal at the moment throughout the world, and we see it here in London very often, is that the technique takes over. And very often, so much so that we say, well, this is high-tech building, instead of saying, is John so-and-so's building, right? And that's because I think sometimes the architect hasn't actually absorbed that, made it flesh of his flesh or her flesh, and then being able to do it, yeah? So that's one thing. The second thing I'd like to point out is that this is what we've got if we want to make any contribution at all to the world, to the social world, to mankind, is if we're architects, our architecture. Even more than our writings about architecture. So in the School of Architecture, is to tell you, the real test is reality, is the actual bricks and mortar, is the concrete. That's why there's more to it than just a title. Yeah? So anyway, the introductions are good if they're short, so I'll leave you with Professor Valero. Okay?
Well, thank you, Javier. I am very happy of being here. Thank you, the school, for inviting me. Also for your words, because it's clear that you are a very good friend. And also because of this opportunity of sharing with you something that is my passion, is talking about architecture, and in this case, talking about my research. In some other lectures, usually you talk about my last works or something, but in this case, it's my research on concrete. For more than 20 years, I've been worried about that. But now, because of this exhibition that made Museo Rezola in San Sebastián, I have to think, to go back in these 20 years and to think what I'm doing and why I'm doing all these things. And not also looking back, but looking to the future. Where are we going and why it's important to do this research? And I have three ideas that I will share with you. First of all, because this is a research I am teaching a project design, and well, somebody can say, okay, talking about concrete, why? You are not of technical studies as Javier, or you are not, why are you talking about that? Because first thing is that because I am worried, and I suppose that most of you are also, about the future of this small planet where we are all living. And I think that we have to change some things. And maybe we don't have to be so much worried about how is the image, and more worried about how are we doing things. And if we are using with responsibility this resource we have, and what have to do to change. And then I think that my first question now, maybe not when I was 20 years younger or 10 years, maybe is now, is something of ethics. This is the first thing, I think. The second question is what is architecture for me? What means this work of architecture? What means my work? And I have to say that, in fact, all I do, all my work is human problem solving. This is the real reason of working. And it's a very important reason. And I think that is the only that means. And that's why all these things, some of them are very small things, are just being that. And I am also working in a very, well, not very poor country, because we cannot say that Spain is a very poor country, but of course, with a big difference with London, with you are here, you can see. And then also you have to learn how to do things possible with less, but without excluding something that I think is, is very hard, because in our cultural way it's very hard to talk about something that is pulchrum. You know what means pulchrum? Is a Latin word. Pulchrum means beauty. But as I am growing up, I think that is one of the most important things necessary to live, to make the reality easier. And that's why this is the ideas of explaining you what is my work and how I am trying to do my best with these 10 small works that I will show you. And during these 22 years working, I will explain how I have been developing new systems, looking for more efficiency, looking for spending less resource. And in this moment, I am so much worried about the embodied carbon, and to avoid to using reinforced concrete without iron, and with all these things. And I'm very much engaged with Heidelberg and with other people of the industry to go push for these things. Maybe I alone can not go very far. Here in this place, there are much more important people who are doing wonderful work, and they are pushing also to do a better work, and I'm very proud of having them here. And also all you that are here, all the students, you are the future. And in a few years, you will have in your hands a very high responsibility. Big or small, I don't know, but for sure you have this responsibility that we all share, is to be aware of the problems of this planet. I will prefer to have less light to see better. And I will show, this is the exhibition, and a little bit less light, if possible, these lines. Okay, much better, wonderful. This exhibition, the first thing, talking about concrete, the first I say, I would like to do this panel with concrete. My first work was a work, rehabilitation, refurbishment of a Félix Candela work, Manantiales, Xochimilco. And that was one of the lightest structures in America. It was just 5 centimeters with more than 1,700 square meters of concrete, and just with 5 centimeters of this slab. And then I have to say that if I learned something on Candela, that he was an amazing person, I'm going to try my best to follow him. And I have done one of the most well, I think that is the thinnest structure in concrete you can do. It's just 13 millimeters in these panels that are 1 meter 80 centimeters, 180, and 180 for 150, with two plates. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And then with that it is quite heavy. It's enough, and you can see the concrete. And then you are exposing this work on research on concrete with this small piece that is very easy to transport, and it's very easy to put it with. You can do different exhibition with the same, because you can in this place or in the other, or you can move and you can use this piece in different ways. In this case, the room was hexagonal. I decided to do like this, also because I was remembering my first work of Félix Candela. I think that I can. ¿Vas aquí? Yo creo que aquí I have. ¿Así? No. Okay, I will. Okay, here. Well, as I was talking you on research. This is my research group is urban recycling and efficient housing, and I think that has a lot to do with this idea of being like not growing up, to be like children. In this way of the gaze of children is different because it's very open and you can find new opportunities, and you don't go to the conventional ways. You can follow looking for different ways, and I think that's very important. Well, this is the place where it was done, and it's quite interesting place, as you can see here, because it's next to a concrete, it's the Museum Resola. Resola is a concrete manufacturing, and then this is the place and this is the space. As you can see, it's so small that I think that it's not necessary to work a lot. I decided that I was going to choose just a few photos in white and black on the work that I'm going, and this is the panel. Now it's going to Bilbao because it's moving, and all these panels can go just in a space like this, in a small van. And one of these panels can be moved by 2 people. And then, it's quite not easy just to put that, but also easy to achieve, to move. But I have to say that this is an experiment, and it has not been the first. We have to do 3. And in the beginning it was in another place, but I suppose that when you are doing the first time one thing, you have to learn that you are going to have mistakes. You have to learn on the problems you have, because I want to achieve the maximum, and then I failed twice, and the third is there. Well, this is my first work. Well, I was 24 years old when I did this restoration. This is when I finished. This is the photo when finished, and this is when we were working there. This is a work of the 57 is quite old, and I found it there in the books when I was studying, and I came here to visit, and I found it like this, impossible to find, because somebody said, "Oh, this is Candela," and it was what I found. I have to do this demolishment of all this big building and to build the new one, to arrive to this. I thought, okay, if I have done this work with 24 years old, I'm finished. I have done my best work in the beginning, what I'm going to do now, But after that, I came back to Spain. I went back to Spain, and I follow with concrete. Also with this same idea of Félix Candela, of doing things, trying to to do complex problems as simple as possible. You know, I like this idea of simple minds make things as complex as possible, and complex mind can do things as simple as possible. And I decided to choose the second way of working. Well, it was for somebody who was working with me, and it was for the husband of this person working for me. And it was necessary to do something as cheap as possible. This was for graphic arts, for printing, and for all these things. And the cheapest thing to do that was with these prefabricated concrete panels. And we decided to do it in the easiest way, just with 2 panels. And I decided that it was necessary to have natural lighting. I have all my life very much worked on light. As you can see there, this book of lighting architecture. For 20 years, my office has been a laboratory on light. And I decided that it was necessary to put light, but it was impossible to put direct light because of the machines and all these things. And I asked them, okay, you mind if I put it on the floor? No, it's not a problem if you put light on the floor. Okay, I decided that I was going to move to put this light on the floor. After that experience, that it was the cheapest way of building in Spain in that moment, my own brother asked me to build his house and his family house. And then it was necessary to do it very cheap, and next to this place there was another place of manufacturing of concrete panels. And this is the house of my brother. This is like this. He wanted a very big and cheap house. And I have to say that he's very happy. And I thought that, okay, that was really an invention, because I decided that as he was in the other, very far from me, because Oviedo is in the north and I was living in the south. I decided, okay, this is going to be prefabricated, and I will do everything and just with one panel, and the same panel with the slab for the slab and also for the cladding. Okay, and it was not so easy. I had to learn a lot, but I suppose that we have to invent things. Talking about invention, Javier knows a lot about that, and to decide how to do things and how to work without material, without doing anything special, with just 2 sides of the same panel, building all that with just 2 things. I want the big one and the small one, and just with these 2, is going to avoid any kind of windows, anything. Just the big one and the small one, and just with that, and is what going to be something simple as, because also the place, it was a nice place, and also because of the south. No, this is my own office. And the best thing of my own office, that was really a laboratory, was just that it was next to the Alhambra. This is this small red point next to the Alhambra. And it's very traditional, it looks very abstract, but I suppose that is because I've been working on that, but has a lot to do with the traditional plastic work in Granada. It's very small. It's very narrow, not small, it's very, very narrow. I suppose that's the reason I could achieve, I could buy it, because it was so narrow that nobody was able to do a normal house. And okay, I don't need a normal thing, I can do something different. And I did my own office. I have done, this is also another work that, in this case, the original project was not in concrete, but concrete was the solution, the best solution, because of the problems we have with the in the plot, because it was very bad soil, really bad. And then we have to do some kind of foundation, very expensive. And then I have to decide to change all the structure to get the more simple and cheapest way of doing it. And then I'm not going to explain now how I have to change, because I want to have all this building facing the mountains, the white mountains, because it was the right orientation and the good views. And I was not going to give up because of the problem of the soil. And then I decided to change all the project when we start when we got the results of the geotechnical studies. It's quite simple. Also, just is very poor concrete, and I don't ask them to do Japanese finish, but the normal one, the simple one, the cheap one, I have to say. And also, I really like it because it has this something that I am very interested in, is the value of invisibility. I think that sometimes you have to see. Sometimes I prefer not to be seen. If you don't understand me, please, okay, you correct me. And in this case, the mountains were so amazing that I didn't want to put a building in front of them. And then I decided to be quiet. And in this case was silence. My answer to this question, to this problem. This is another house. Is funny because the project, the house of my brother, was published in a Spanish design. I don't know why. Don't tell me why this house was in a book of Spanish design. And then a person said, "Oh, I want a house like this," and she asked me to do a house like my brother's. And I did another house on concrete for her. Of course, it's not like my brother's because it was absolutely different. But in this case, I was very much, the only thing she was sure that is she wanted a concrete house. And I decided that if we are going to use concrete is going to work in the most efficient way, because I cannot use a structure as ornament. Then, all this house is, all this work are working as a very big beam. And I have to say that I enjoy it a lot, because for me this is a game that is my favorite game, is to work with structure and to go to the maximum and to the limits, no? To explore the possibilities of materials, the possibilities of structure. Remember that I start with a work of Félix Candela. Then, is something that is quite, ¿cómo se dice? Que engancha. No, it's something that moves you to do things in. This is the final house. This is this is after crisis. The other buildings were before crisis, but after crisis also I was very much worried with the new building systems, and there was a big problem in a very poor school of children in Granada, in the outside of Granada. And it was not possible because they have a problem, a real problem, is that it was necessary to keep the school going on. It was necessary to get a multifunctional space and a second stair because of fire. There was just one stair for all the building, and it was necessary to have two. And also another place to have something with for the open place for the children. And it was not possible to get this because they had no money. And I thought, okay, I will try to do as cheap as possible. And as cheap as possible was, I tried to do with iron, and it was 137,000 euros. It's not possible. We don't have so much money. And then I found this system that is a patent, trademark or patent of an engineer of Granada, and it was of concrete on polystyrene porex inside. And then I got just with 83,000 euros. No, it's not what I got. It's the total price of this building of 200 square meters. And and as you can see, this is me. It's quite high. This is the place. And this was the school. I have to elimination of the roof to put some supporting walls and just to put the box and the connection, and this is the result. Also, it was very important to get the right sun because it was not. We have not money for heating or cooling. Then we have to study very much, and this is you can see here is quite ugly, but I don't mind if you okay. And now they got some money and they paint it in white, and then they are more thinking that they are not so poor as they look when they were here, but it's working very well. And if somebody says that is ugly, now in white, they don't think so. I say, okay, could you make it cheaper? Could you solve the problem better? And I'm not worried now so much on the perfection, on the finish, the perfection. I am more worried on light, on space, on working, on children, that are not other things. Maybe I am getting old or something like that, but well, this is one of the most important words I have. I suppose that in Spain, building a church is quite a challenge. It's quite challenging, and also with the same idea of we don't have money, we have a beautiful place. The place is there. The place is here. Okay. And this it was in front of the sea. It was like a dream. And I decided that this was going to be a stone, and I was working with concrete, and I have decided that it was the cheapest way of doing what I want to do. Also because of the space. As you can see, not worried at all of being very perfect, because I think that this is not the point in this case. I am not worried on that. I'm worried on other things, on movement, on the relation, on the scale, the relation between this very low ceiling and the inside. Because also I have a very, very strict regulation, and they ask me to have the same rules of the single housing in front of me. The height, the maximum height was 7 meters, the same of one house of 2 stores. Do you understand more or less what I mean? They say, okay, I'm going to do a chart. Then, yes, you have to use the same, with the same regulation of the single house. How is that possible? Okay, don't worry. I have to use some things to avoid this scale. And I tried to do it very abstract. Well, the only thing they let me was of course, the tower, because the tower, it was like a chimney, and they don't say the size. Also, there was another important thing. I have not money to put anything. Then I decided not to put anything, just to eliminating concrete. And it was quite funny because at the beginning, we asked the builder to do it without extra price, just to do in the holes. Well, in the beginning they said, okay, no problem, but it was quite difficult to do that. And then we had all this, that's the windows, in all this way, trying to do things without putting, just eliminating, just naking. Well, it is quite naked, no?
Denuded.
Well, no, I don't know. Well, also, there was another thing interesting. Well, also, and with this same solution, with just one solution for everything. Here you have the stairs and the office and all these things, okay. And here you have. In the beginning, the people were asking, what is this building? And then when we did it, nobody asked again. Nobody else asked about what is this. Everybody understood that, what is this? Well, I was working with a very good friend of mine, Antonio Jiménez Torrecilla, and we were working on how to do things in a different way, and we were working on this celosia in this system. And we thought, okay, maybe we can use stones, like the stones of the beach that we have there, and we can put in an iron, and we can do something like that. But after my client said, okay, but you can come and cut it, and it's not possible, and then I have to change again and to follow, and I decided that I was not going to be an artist. It was not what I was interested in, and I said, okay, I will do again the same. And I built this prefabricate without iron. It was reinforced with fibers because it's very near the sea, and then you cannot have. It's because something that is very important is how to do with this low technology, because this is quite low technology. How can you do things thinking in 20, 30 years, not just thinking in 3 years. And I know that nobody is going to have any kind of maintenance. Then I have to do it as easy as possible and for a long time. This is the system that I use that is called El Estopa, impossible to remember. You can find it in the website. And you can see here that I put the insulation between the slab down and up, and you can see there how is the insulation inside, and then it helps to get a very good quality of insulation. You can see here. Well, this is because here is the head of technical studies, and I decided that coming here it was important to put to explain how I was doing it. And then I could get this slab without any pillar. That was quite important, 30 meters width in one side. And also light was one of the important things that I thought that were important here. I was not going to do any artistic work, no money, and then I thought that it was important to get the right light, and I thought that I was going to use just 3 lights. The first is this direct light on the presbyterium, where is the altar. The second one is the light directly coming from the west, because it's east-west, is oriented east-west. And in the right day is just in the center of this altar. And the third one is this light that is coming down from the south to the people who is sitting there, for all the people. This is a symbol. Light is sometimes is very symbolic, like in the idea of the church. This idea of that is the same light and it can come in 3 different ways. Well, symbolic things of the has to do with that, and this is the this is the down of that. That was the last one. These are also experiments with the same system that is using just two materials. I have to say that the price of the charge has been 429,000 euros, all the charge, finished. Well, as you can, maybe it's not totally finished because we have to finish inside something to improve the quality of the altar, but it's just that, and it's working well. First, at the beginning, the priest was thinking that it was strange, that he thought of something more older or something more classical, but now he's very happy because he thinks that it's working well, and it's like kind of a stone in the middle of the garden. And I was very interested in being in this place, like being in the middle of the garden, in this relation with nature, landscape. Okay. These are experimental housing that I did with some friends for us. And it was it's in Granada, next to the Alhambra. In this place this is Granada, these are the houses, and this is the La Colina del Mauror, in front of the School of Architecture. Here you can see where is the... A ver, esto hay una cosa que sirve para puntear. Aquí. This is the houses, this is the Alhambra, and this is the cathedral. This to see more or less where it is. But it's not so easy to work in Granada. Not easy at all, because we have a long history, and we have hundreds of years of waiting for us when we opened a small hall, and there was a cemetery, and we were, finding them, and we were working a lot with archaeologists, and all this. We found this, that it was just a head of a Roman. It was a Roman, ¿cómo se dice? Muñeca? Doll, a Roman doll. And that was, well, it's interesting to see that we are not the first. And maybe we are not going to be the last. And so we have to do things for the future also. Well, this is the house, very simple also, again, without not image, as you can see, and with low tech, and all is concrete. It's just one material, and when we finished the structure, everything was done, because all the installation were inside. Here is the entrance. Also, I was worried because in Granada we don't have a lot of water, and when it rains, it was very important to get the water going to the soil. This is the garden of the place. Because it's all concrete, it's not necessary to put pillars, just one for all the house. For all the building, 8 houses with 1 pillar. Not bad, isn't it? At least not for me, but I'm not the very best driving, and then it's very good for parking here. No, what happened? Oh no. Now, the inside. And maybe it's the time, and this is, you prepare this to say that it's time to finish. Okay. Inside, as I told you, is just one material, is concrete, inside, outside, and with all the signs of how the concrete is and how the concrete works. It's not perfect. If something is, no, I was not looking for something perfect. I was looking for something cheap because it was for me and my friends in the crisis time. Because when I did this, it was because I had no client, and then I had time to find something to do this. And as you can see here, just these 2 materials. Well, this is for the lift and for all the, ¿cómo se dice, contadores? All the, well, for all these things of installations. This concrete, and this is the inside of the houses as they are now. All the houses are in white. Concrete is painted in white because people prefer to live in normal houses, but not mine. This is mine. That is in concrete, and you can see everything as it was. And now it's like this. I decided this is the bathroom, very, very simple, and I decided to close with glass and also with these curtains, just to separate from the bedroom. And this is the house with these all things of family things. I didn't buy them. Well, just I'm very glad because of this painting of Eduardo Barco. And that's all. That's what I was going to tell you on my 22 years of working with research. But I have to say that I am starting now with more things, with pushing in other ways of building with this responsibility now, how to build with less iron, with less things, trying to find new fibers, plastic fibers to avoid, also using recycled materials to avoid, to change, what is waste to pass to new materials, not to work with. And I think that this is the future, and I invite you to come in with me to fight for this and to follow this kind of research that sometimes are not beautiful, but they can help us to get other kinds of beauty. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, sorry. As is customary, if there are any questions, I'll pass the microphone around. So I'd like to thank Elisa for this. I perhaps will start with the first question myself to warm up the atmosphere. And my question is that you say that it might not be, you finish by saying, it might not be beautiful sometimes, but there is a simplicity in it. Simplicity in itself is already the beginning of beauty, and you let it grow later on. And nature and simplicity are always working together. So the question is, at what stage is it throughout the project that you are actually looking for the simplicity, or is there some stage that you find that you have to eliminate things?
Well, I think that trying to do things as simple as possible is quite good for architecture. And I try my best to get that. But I am not minimalist, I am not, I don't try to do something for, I'm now less interested in image than in other things. But yes, of course, trying to do as simple as possible is one of the things that now I think that I've been all my life just in that. Also maybe because I think I'm not an artist, then I think it's very difficult to do not necessary things. And then I say, okay, try to do the necessary and with a lot of reason for doing in this way, and then it will be okay. But usually a lot of reason after every, wow.
I know some of your works, some of them also. And I would say that you are, I don't know if it's correct to say that, but you are stretching to the limit, supposedly. You are tending to the limit from the things. I have said to Elisa quite a lot of times, it would be impossible to do what you are trying to do. And finally, she always phoned me and said, now we are putting this big glass that I said to you, I will put over this house, or I'm putting now this 5 centimeters wide facade. in your office, things like that. So I think that it is not so much being simple, but trying to be in the limit from the materials. And I like this very much. I think that this situation in the border, in the frontier from what's possible, reducing the things. You expressed it very well when you spoke about Candela. No, he was also tending to the limit, trying to go to the limit.
Yes, but I suppose that is because architecture is not just my passion; it's this game. And I suppose that when you are playing your game, you are always going to the limit, because the other thing is not, it's so interesting. You are in the limit. You are trying, because it's a research, and also there are a lot of failures. I'm sorry. I have to ask pardon because my English is not very good, a little bit rusty. I hope you understand me more or less. Yes, thank you. But I had all my life has been a laboratory. I'm not interested in things that are done, what everybody has done. I am interested in something that I don't know if it's possible or not. Of course, be careful with your clients. Be careful with the clients, because also las aseguradoras, the insurance companies are not very happy with that. But I am doing it with also the most risky. Well, in fact, I have a book called Risky Laser, talking about what I think that is my work. It's going to be published very soon, I hope. And I will tell you when it's finished, because I think this is a risky laser. And if it's risky, it's because we are in this limit. And I think that also a lot of that. Yes.
Hello. I'm an Spanish architect as well, but I'm working here in a London company. And I would like to congratulate you for all your works. I have to say that all of them look incredibly elegant, in spite of this industrial image. Perhaps that reflects your strong personality. And my question is related to one element that is always present in your project, that is the tight budgets. What happened if you received a project or a commission that is more generous in terms of budget?
I have got one rich client in my life.
And would you stick to the same aesthetic and materials?
Yes.
Yes.
But not the same materials, of course not. Because I got the best stones and all these things. But the same idea of I'm not going to do nothing that is not necessary. And he was so clever that he accepted my no. Sometimes, I was just to do the right thing. And he is now very happy. I don't know if we have internet here. I can show, well, if not, I will say you, because he's one of the very rich collectionists of art. And I decided to say, no, just that. And he is not just my client, but a very good friend of mine now. And he's very happy. And I have to say that when we finished, he prepared a party for me, because he said it's the first time in all my life that somebody has done in the time and in the money that says that it was going to cost. And then it was not a bad thing, but of course with the best materials and with very high installation and all these things. Also, I am working in hospitals, but in this case, this conference is on my research on concrete. But working on hospitals, I have been the intensive care unit of one of the most important pediatric hospitals in Madrid, and it's really, really expensive to work because of the machines. But it's all with the same idea, with the same ideas, as simple as possible, and as clean, and working with light and working with materials. But if you have, of course, we have to do as much as possible, but not wasting money. I don't mind if it's rich or poor. in this case, everybody was quite poor, my family, myself, you know. Because we are, you know, we have to be responsible because of the resource, natural resource for everybody. You know, this is something that every day, as also because I'm working for some foundation and for some very poor people, every day I'm more engaged with that, with this social responsibility.
Managers reminded me that there's some drinks just in the South Jury Room, and also that Elisa's book on light, it's called Light, the Intangible Material, is for sale, and because of today's occasion, it's a special prize of £20. So I'd like to thank Elisa again, and perhaps if you want to come for some drinks, just there in the South Jury Room, just that little room there. Okay? Any more questions? Thank you.